everyone, this is Karen.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
Today we're looking at part 1 of the world of podcasts. And the vocabulary words are combine.
Combine.
We combined all of our ideas and came up with a new plan.
Edit.
Edit.
I still have to edit the photos, but I'll send them to you when I'm done.
Great. Specifically.
Specifically.
This course is designed specifically for beginners.
Audience.
Audience.
The writer's audience is mainly made up of children.
Global.
Global.
Food safety has become a global concern. So we're talking about the world of podcasts. I've been hearing a lot about podcasts lately.
Yeah.
Do you listen to podcasts?
I do listen to podcasts, and I started listening to podcasts since the beginning of podcasts, like really back in like 2005.
Wow, that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I listened to it on my iPod. Because the word podcast comes from two words put together. Do you know what the two words are?
Well, you're talking about iPod, so I am guessing iPod
Plus?
and broadcasting.
Right.
All right.
So podcast. So what makes this really special is before, if you wanted to listen to like a radio program, you would have to tune in to the radio at a specific time.
True.
Like 10 p.m. and listen to that show. But a podcast, it's a show that's been recorded, put on the internet.
So the benefit of that is you can listen to it whenever you want.
Right. And if you subscribe to a podcast, it will download it automatically to your device.
Yes.
And you don't have to go find it. It's just there in your library. So you just listen whenever you want to listen.
And the great thing about podcasts is that there's such a huge selection of topics and different kind of things that you can listen to.
Right.
Right?
So it's a huge variety. Cool. So I'll have to get you into the world of podcasts.
Cool.
Get you into the world of podcasts.
Sounds pretty awesome.
All right. Let's learn more about
Podcasts.
The world of podcasts. What's as interesting as books, as exciting as TV, and as easy as listening to music? It's podcasts, of course. Podcasts are a series of audio recordings that discuss a topic or tell a story. These recordings, called episodes, can be any length and about anything. The first podcasts were made in the early 2000s, and the term podcasting, which combines the words iPod and broadcasting, was coined by reporter Ben Hammersley in 2004.
Today's lesson is called The World of Podcasts. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff. This is part 1 of our lesson.
And I'm Mike. Yes, absolutely. Now, we're not doing a podcast here, but I guess you could actually take what we do and make it into a podcast because basically it's just some kind of program, kind of like a radio program, but you record it on a certain topic as much as you want. You do it yourself. You can do it from home. You can do it with your cell phone, and then you put it on the internet. You don't need a radio station. You don't need to be a professional radio DJ. You can be the host. You can pick the topic. You can talk about whatever you want. And hey, maybe someone will actually listen to it.
Maybe. Unlikely, but maybe. But you go ahead and you record yourself and then you put it on iTunes, Podcasts, Stitcher. There's all sorts of places where you can upload your podcasts. And if people like the things you say, maybe they'll give you a listen. Anyways, what's as interesting as books, as exciting as TV, and as easy as listening to music?
Candy Crush.
No. You should have seen this coming, Mike. It's podcasts.
Of course.
Of course. The subject of today's lesson.
Yeah, and Candy Crush isn't that interesting. Podcasts are a series of audio recordings that discuss a topic or tell a story. That's basically what they are. You can talk about or discuss any subject or topic, Or, sure, you can tell a story. That's a good idea. If you're a writer, you can read your stories and stuff like that, or tell your own life story. Basically, you can pick what they are about. And these recordings, it says, called episodes, can be any length and about anything. There you go. So that's how it's a little bit different from a radio show. You can make them as long as you want. You can make them about whatever you want. And if you're a fan of a podcast, unlike a radio show, you don't have to turn on the radio at a certain time every day to hear the show. You can listen to them anytime, anywhere, while doing anything, and they can be on any topic.
Once they've been uploaded to iTunes or whatever, you can download them and play them whenever you want. Now, the first podcasts were made in the early 2000s, and the term podcasting, which combines the words iPod and broadcasting, was coined by reporter Ben Hammersley in 2004. So people started making these kind of strange radio-like recordings. And when you, by the way, when you put radio out there, you say you're broadcasting it. And the object, the device they used to do this was the iPod. So you put those two words together, you get podcasting and podcast. What an amazing combination.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of times when we make up new words, especially about new technology, we combine things, all right? To combine is basically to take two things that were separate or are separate in some cases, but then mix them to create a third new thing. The easiest thing to think about here is how you combine different things to make foods, right? If you're making a cake, you get some flour, some eggs, some cream or sugar, whatever. You put it in a big bowl, you mix it up, you cook it, and then you have a cake. You've combined these ingredients to make something new. And we can combine words like cell phone, cellular, telephone. Instead of someone saying, I can't find my cellular telephone, we started to say, I can't find my cell phone, by combining words. For example, we combined all of our ideas and came up with a new plan. So some of your ideas, some of my ideas, some of her idea, and then we came up with an even better idea by mixing them, by joining them together and creating something new.
Something occurs to me.
Yes.
I wonder if any of our listeners have ever actually seen an iPod. Yeah, they discontinued those a few years ago.
Maybe in a museum.
Maybe they've seen them in a museum. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be back soon.
No more iPods?
No more iPods, I don't think.
Yeah.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。同学们平常有在听 podcast 吗 ？podcast 的内容包罗万象，而且随时随地都能听。它在世界各地越来越受欢迎喽。那我们这2天的课文就是要介绍 podcast。podcast 它的中文有人翻译成播客。那它是一系列的录音内容，内容可能是讨论某个话题啊，可能是说故事。那么每一集的长度不限，从10几分钟到几个小时都有哦。那么最早的 podcast 是在21世纪初制作的，而 podcasting 这个字它就是结合了 iPod 和 broadcasting 这2个字而来。好，那这边有一个单字是 combine。combine 是动词，它表示结合、合并。combine A and B 或是 combine A with B 就可以表达结合 A 和 B。继续回到课文中。
The world of podcasts. In the following years, advancements in technology have led to phones with greater storage space and mobile phone networks that can send large amounts of data at lightning speeds. As a result, the average length of podcasts has increased, with one study showing a 40% increase in podcast length since 2005.
Okay, more on podcasting. We just learned about the beginnings of podcasting. Now, in the following years, advancements in technology have led to phones with greater storage space and mobile phone networks that can send large amounts of data at lightning speed. So you can download big podcasts on your phone in the blink of an eye, and you can start listening to that podcast almost immediately.
That's right. 10, 15 years ago, a few games and a bunch of songs would take up all the memory on your phone, and downloading even a short YouTube video might take a minute or two. Now you can download huge numbers of things really quickly and keep them all on your phone. You don't have to delete anything. So as a result, the average length of podcasts, and many other things, the average length of podcasts has increased, with one study showing a 40% increase in podcast length since 2005. So most things have gotten, quite a bit bigger. So instead of just having a 15 or 20-minute program, I've seen some podcasts that are 5 or 6 hours long. You can listen to them through the whole week, and it takes almost no time to download them. You can have a bunch of these long podcasts on your phone at once. The technology has made everything so much faster and easier to use.
I couldn't have
story of our lives.
Said it any better myself. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break. But don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
好，刚刚说到最早的 podcast 是在21世纪初制作的。那么课文写到说，在接下来的几年，科技的发展使得手机有更大的储存空间，以及可以极快的速度，可以用非常快的速度来传送大量数据的行动网络。好，那这边有3个重点。第一个是 advancements 加上 in 再加名词就可以表达在什么什么的进展。advancement 它可以当可数或是不可数用来表达科技技术的进展成果时，我们常常会用复数型表达。例如 Advancements in technology have made our lives more convenient. 科技的进展让我们的生活变得更便利了。好，第二个重点是a 或是 an 加上形容词加上 amount of， 或者是形容词加上 amounts of， 后面是要搭配不可数名词来表达什么什么量的某事物。其中的形容词呢，常常会用 large, huge, great, small 等等来修饰它数量的多寡。例如Lemons contain a huge amount of vitamin C. 柠檬含有大量的维他命 C。第3个重点At lightning speed 是指说以闪电般的速度，以极快的速度，其中的 lightning 是指闪电。例如 False information can spread at lightning speed on social media. 错误讯息能以飞快的速度在社群媒体上面传播。那补充一下哦，刚刚 Jeff 老师谈到说，现在手机的储存空间很大，转眼间你就可以把 podcast 节目内容下载到手机里了。那老师用到 in the blink of an eye 是表达说在一眨眼之间，转眼之间，也就是非常短的时间内。接回到课文中。
The world of podcasts. Another key difference in today's podcasts is they're created to be, well, podcasts. They're no longer just edited radio shows. And the radio shows that are made into podcasts are now done so specifically for a podcast audience, an audience that happens to be going global. In fact, 45% of new podcasts created in 2020 were in languages other than English.
Okay, now another key difference in today's podcasts is they're created to be, well, podcasts. Before you didn't really have a format. People just kind of recorded things and uploaded them. But now the podcast form, it's actually a thing. They're no longer just edited radio shows. People have actually formed the podcast form itself. Before it was kind of like, sitting in front of a microphone and talking just like you were on the radio or something. But that's no longer the case. Anyways, when you edit something, okay, you take some text, let's say, and you cut out unnecessary portions, things that you don't need. You might fix things, amend things, so on and so forth. That's what it means to edit text. Now you can also edit a sound file. Let's say you've got a sound file and there's a portion of the conversation that's boring or that you don't need. You can cut that out of there, or you can edit that portion out of your podcast, let's say. For example, I still have to edit the photos, but I'll send them to you when I'm done. Yes, I still have to crop them and maybe do some photoshopping and stuff like that, but when I'm done, I'll send them along.
Okay, so you're kind of picking and choosing and cutting things out to make the finished product, if it's art or film or writing or a picture,
or
to
a
make
podcast,
it better in some kind of way, or shorter, or at least more enjoyable and easier to use. Okay, that's a good idea, because if people are coughing or saying things that don't make sense, you'd edit that out to make it more enjoyable to listen to. And the radio shows that are made into podcasts are now done so specifically for a podcast audience, an audience that happens to be going global. All right, so now podcasts are becoming more like radio shows, but radio shows have to become more like podcasts, because of course more people probably now listen to podcasts than actually listen to the radio. And as opposed to the past, when if you wanted to listen to a radio show, you had to live in that area near the radio station. Now these radio shows that are, made in New York or London or Tokyo or Hong Kong or wherever, they're put on the internet, so the audience has gone global. It's basically moved around the world.
You can listen to a podcast anywhere, at any time. That's pretty cool. Anyways, next up, we've got the vocabulary word specifically. It is an adverb.
Yes, it is. When we talk about doing something specifically, we do it on purpose for that very reason, not just kind of in a general way. We were thinking about it, we were planning it. We did this so that we could do that. For example, I packed an umbrella in my bag specifically because I saw in the weather it would rain today. Maybe I always bring an umbrella. In that case, that's fine. But if you don't and you do something, you pick it out, you choose it, you take action for a very special reason, you're doing that thing specifically. For example, this course is designed specifically for beginners. All right, if you know about the subject, sure, you can take it, but you might be learning things you already know. This one is made only or mainly for beginners, for people who don't know.
There you go. Now next, let's talk about what an audience is. Let's say there is a rock concert. The band is on the stage, they're playing. The people watching, those people are the audience for that particular show. Now, more generally, when we're talking about an audience in this particular situation, we're talking about the consumers of something that you make or produce. So, if you go ahead and make a podcast and you put it out there, the people who are listening to that podcast, they're your audience. For example, the writer's audience is mainly made up of children. Not a lot of adults read this person's books.
All right. So the audience could be a bunch of people gathered together in a room at a time to watch something, or also just anyone who enjoys that art or that book or that music or TV show. All right, cool. And global, of course, so many things, especially with the creative industry, media, music, television, film. It is global these days. You can watch the same shows on Netflix or listen to the same podcasts no matter where you are in the world these days because of the internet. So the world is very global, obviously, but the audience is global. What do we mean by global? It just means around the world. It takes up the whole world. It's not continents or countries or regions. It's everywhere. So, for example, global warming. It doesn't mean just certain parts of the world are becoming warmer. The whole world is becoming warmer. That's why this is a global problem. It's a problem for everyone, no matter where they are in the world. Food safety. Food safety has become a global concern, right? Because
people
if you know
all over the world are worried about
that's right. And if they're making bad food in certain places, you can probably buy that same food in other places. It's a big problem for all of us on the planet.
Anyways, podcasts. It is a growth. It is a big time growth situation. A lot of growth is happening there. It's a growth business. That's what I was trying to say
And a
before.
global business.
And this is going global. It's going worldwide. In fact, get this, 45% of new podcasts created in 2020 were in languages other than English. So, do you have to listen to a podcast in English? No, chances are you can find a podcast in your own language. How about that? All right, folks, with that, today's lesson is now in the books, and it's time for us to say bye-bye.
Take care.
以前 podcast 没有什么特定形式，不过现在 podcast 不再只是经过剪辑的广播节目咯。课文写到说，制作成 podcast 的广播节目现在是专门针对 podcast 听众而做的，那么听众恰巧是全球化的听众，像在2020所制作的这个 podcast 里面呢，有 45% 都不是英语节目哦。我们先来看4个单字 edit， 它表示剪辑、编辑。Charles 老师提到，剪辑是把不必要的部分剪掉或是做修改。那么老师说的 unnecessary， 在 necessary 前面加上 un， 变成这个字表示不需要的、不必要的。老师还用到 amend，amend， amend 表示修改、修订，还有 format，format， format 表示形式或是格式。好，下一个单字 specifically， 它表示专门的、特意的或是确切的。还有 audience 表示观众、听众或是乐听人。那么 global 表示全球的，是当形容词。那这边还有个4个重点。第一个重点是 make A into B， 表示把 A 改制成 B。例如The novel is going to be made into a movie. 那本小说将被改编成电影。那这边是用被动语态来表示。第二个重点 ，so 在这边呢是指如此或是这样做，用来指前面叙述所提及的内容。例如 I might be late. If so, start without me. 我可能会迟到。如果是这样的话，如果我真的迟到的话，就不要等我，直接开始吧。第3个重点 happen to 加原形动词呢，是指刚好、恰巧、碰巧怎么样。例如 She happened to overhear their conversation. 她碰巧偷听到他们的对话。第4个重点 go 在这边是当连缀动词，那么 go 加形容词就可以表达变成怎么样、成为怎么样，像是 The milk has gone bad. 牛奶已经坏掉变酸了。好，以上是节课程讲解，谢谢同学们收看哦，我们下次见，拜拜。
See you next time.